On this episode, decide to go pro. Hey everybody, this is the Quarter Show, and we're talking about being a pro or going pro. And I remember years ago when we first started Richter, and this is my fourth company, and in the previous companies and the previous things I did, I didn't really think about myself as a salesperson. Like, I wasn't considering that I was a salesperson, and I never really realized that. I wasn't really looking at it, even though in previous endeavors and previous things I was doing, I was selling. But I was just doing the hustle. Like, I was just being an entrepreneur and just doing the hustle, and I never really connected it and was like, oh, this is, like, you need to know sales. And then early days when we started this company, I remember having the distinct decision to, like, the thought crossed my head that, like, I was going to be a pro. Like, I was going to become a pro and absolutely, utterly master sales. And because I didn't want to be effect of anything, I wanted to be able to sort of control the outcome of Richter. And the only way to do that at the time, certainly if you're a startup, this is very true. Somebody has to. If you're not going to do it, somebody has to know how to sell. And in terms of sales, we're just talking straight up, like, revenue. Be able to, like, sell your products or services, to get exchange, to get revenue in the door, and that revenue is like, that's the survival of the company, right? That's like how you survive. And I just decided 100%, like, I'm going to be a pro. And after training a huge amount of salespeople and everything like that, I realized that a lot of people I don't know that they've ever actually made that decision that they were going to be a pro. And unless you really go there, it's hard to go anywhere, right? Like, unless you literally decide, I'm going to become a pro. I'm going to actually master this thing, right? And you have to start there and work towards being a pro. Just like study every book, watch videos like this if you have to, get material, practice, train, drill, put in the hours, do the phone calls, do all the different things. And frankly, I've seen the difference. I've seen people who are literally like, I'm going to master this and make that decision and say I'm going to be a pro. And then I've seen people who are like just doing the doingness of selling, and they're just kind of working and they're just hustling, but they never really decided and committed to becoming a pro. And so, like, for me, I can remember exactly where I was when I made that decision. And you should look at it for yourself and think, have I ever just sheerly decided to become a pro and to master and become an absolute master at doing this? Like anything else, if you're going to be training for hockey or something for the Olympics or becoming a runner or whatever, it's like you have to decide to be great. You have to decide to take it to a pro level, and then you go and execute against that. But if you never decide and you never consciously say this is happening, the chance of it happening is pretty slim. Look at any professional athlete. I assure you, at some point they made a decision to go there.
Just thinking the same thing.
Some professional athlete.
I love baseball, and I would love to have been in the major leagues, but I never made a decision to go pro, and I never really dedicated the time. Whether or not I would have ever made it, I definitely had essentially no chance. Right? There's ways to get better at things that don't involve decision to do so. Right? Life can beat you up enough that you in order to survive at all, you simply take on certain tasks and get certain things done, but it's not very easily going to elevate you to the next level. You to go and study and to intentionally do something, right? There's a couple ways of doing things in life. There's pretty much boils down to two. There's be a leaf on the wind and get blown about, and wherever the wind blows, that's where you end up. And you might find yourself going from job to job to job and slightly different tasks and duties, and you get a little bit good at things, and then you end up as a jack of all trades. And you might end up with some skills in some area, especially for some young buck coming up, and you can teach them some things and different stuff, but that doesn't make you a pro. The fact that you can teach another. It really is. There's the other side of this, outside of life just sort of pushing you directions. You go and I'm gonna, you with your will, you create a decision and you say, this is it. This is where I'm gonna be a professional. I'm gonna be whatever you decide. I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that, I'm gonna be this way. and then you do that. And like it's inserting your will on your life and being a master of what you're going to do from here on out. And sales is a great area in which to do that, because you can control so much of what happens with you and with your company and with what's going on.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's such a simple little thing, like just the idea of did I decide to become a pro? And it's like, I remember for me, it was like vividly, I decided I was going to become a pro. I was going to be pro at this. And you know, you fast forward, like I can't tell you how much that's helped me over the years, because I would study every book and learn, and I was willing to do everything because I was working towards that. I was working towards being a pro, and that means I'd scrape my face and call people, like just, you know, all sorts of scraps and stuff as you went. But it was like, you're just literally working towards that goal. And if you look at it from the standpoint of like, what are your goals and have you decided on that? If you haven't, what are you working towards? Like where, you know, you're just sort of going through the motions of selling. And that's not a very good modus operandi, you know, and you just kind of stay sort of in the same thing.
Well, it's a comfort zone. Go and look up what Michael Jordan went through before he played college basketball. Look at how he trained himself. I don't think the guy had
Michael Phelps or something. Yeah.
Michael Phelps. I don't think these fellows and these gals that do this kind of thing have a comfortable life while they're doing this.
Yeah.
The rewards are just the victories that they have. That's the rewards, right? It's the knowing sense of accomplishment, right? So and I've talked to people who are friends of mine, and I've experienced this myself for sure, where I'm 100% unwilling to be uncomfortable. Whatever I say, whatever lip service I give, there have been absolutely moments in my life where I'm completely unwilling to do what it took in an area to actually become something better than I was. And you'll hear it from people when you suggest certain things to them. You know, if you tried this, if you tried that, and they go, well, that doesn't work, and I don't know, and this and that, and you'll find this attitude. That's fine. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to be a professional. They're not going to go to that next level at that time in that area. But if you want to do it, you have to really understand that like when I was really starting to come up with Richter, I worked 8 to 5, and then I took a short break for dinner, and I came back and I worked from 8:30 or 9 to 11, Monday through Friday, and I took most of Saturday off, and then I worked all of Sunday, every week, all the time, for at least 6 months, maybe as long as 9 months. Now I still work a lot of hours, but not quite as many as before, because I've hit a certain stride and I can expand and stuff like that. But it's that, like my Sundays, you know, my friends wanted to know what I was up to, and my family wanted to know if I'd come out.
Hustling, man.
Right, but I was working, like literally at my computer all day, every Sunday for months.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is when you decide, I'm going to become a pro. I'm going to master this. I'm going to be a pro. When you decide, like all actions are kind of dictated from it, because you start working backwards and you start doing the groundwork. You go, okay, what does that require? And then what would I need to do? And like you start mapping out your schedule, and you start to map out your study schedule. You start mapping out like your training and your doing and how many phone calls and what would I need to do just from in the trenches work, and then and then the phone, you know.
Hey, people want stuff, you know.
I swear I put that on silent. So anyway,
you do all that work.
Yeah, you do all that work, and you start mapping out like the route to go pro, essentially, the route to become to become a pro, and I think it's really, really important to, I think it's really, really important actually getting good, you know, and I think that if you, it doesn't stop.
It takes that dedication, though. It takes the constant attention to the detail of what is my life going to be like? What does it take to get there? Laying out the actions, putting it on your calendar. Like Rob works out, he runs, he has a family, he has his company, and a number of other things. And he reads books, more books than than I think I've read in my life, and I've read a lot of books in my life. Right? We could compete on libraries, but mine, because I got in a little bit later in the game and started to understand things about business a little later than Robert. His library would consist of how to succeed at business and like every facet that you can think of. Mine would consist of like Lord of the Rings and other other things like this, which is great. But when you map it out and how are you going to get there, it's a game in and of itself. You have to make that the fun thing. Yeah. You know, you have to make that the targets that you're trying to do. Like that's not work. If you make work instead of work your game, then you're going to suffer a lot more.
Yeah. So just go after it. Assess, look through. Have you decided? If you haven't, really make a decision and then write that down. Write that down, and then work out what is it going to take to actually go there, and you'll get better traction. Hope you enjoy the episode. If you like it, subscribe right there, and hit the like button, and share with others on social and things like that as well. Okay, thanks.